Hi again. Let's continue. Um, well, uh, I've already described you the great, well, indifference curves and the budget lines. So the solution of the problem will look like this: you draw indifference curves for different grades 50, 60, 70, 80, and the budget line, and you look what is the maximum grade you can reach with this budget line, and that grade is represented by this um, well, I believe orange uh, indifference curve. You know it because our budget line is tangent to this indifference curve. Tangent means it never goes above the indifference curve. If it were not tangent, then it means it crossed the indifference curve, which means it will go above the our indifference curve. By the way, uh, sleeping more and working more both will increase the grade according to our assumptions, which means the indifference curves that are above represent always a higher grade. So if our budget line goes above an indifference curve, like 50, for example, we know there's a combination of working time and sleeping time that gives our student a grade higher than 50. And our indifference curve is tangent to the indifference curve that is representing grade 60, which means it never goes above 60, which means we don't have any combination of um, sleeping or and study time that gives us a grade higher than 60. So the highest potential grade is reached well by allocating the time of our student uh, well basically according to the allocation represented by the point which is tangent to the which is the point at which the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve representing grade 60. And that's the point where I have done it graphically, so I know it. Our student studies and sleep 7.75 hours, so distributes this remaining time equally between studying and sleeping the daily time. You might also consider, well, this is daily time, of course, because we subtracted from daily time the rest, additional time, the time that is left from them, from other activities, basically. So, in case of optimum level of work, we have very similar situation. Now we are not willing to optimize, get the maximum amount of grade, but we want to get maximum amount of utility. We divide our time between leisure and labor. We already have a certain amount of income which is given us basically with work we got income, but we already have a certain level of income. If we have basically at the time of zero working time, you might have a certain level of income, and the optimum working time is the time at which our budget line is tangent to a indifference curve. So that indifference curve to which our budget line is tangent represents the highest attainable utility level, because our budget line never goes above this indifference curve. Our budget line goes above U2, which means basically, since, well, when we go above our indifference curve, we always have some indifference curve that represent higher utility level. For example, if we are at point B, that means by reallocating our time between leisure and labor, we can get a point which gives us higher utility. But since our higher utility compared with the utility, we have it at B. But since at D our budget line is tangent to the U3 curve, that means we can never get a higher utility than the utility represented by U3, since our budget line never goes above U3. So this is how we find the optimum working time for the worker. And in very abstract sense, our worker will prefer to work L3 to L1 time and sell this amount of labor, and basically the employers buy from him this amount of labor. Of course, if we want, we can still use the model by, well, for example, our worker might be offered to work L4 time, which might be represented by this point, or working zero amount. Basically, these options in the middle might not be available for our worker. In that case, he will compare the points that are available for him, basically. But in the most basic model, as you see, we assume our workers is able to choose the optimum working time from his or her perspective. What will happen to the optimum working time if our workers, non-labor market income increases? Well, certainly increasing non-labor market income will decrease the optimum working time. How can we be that certain? Well, because of this. Well, let me express it in mathematical sense. Let's say our initial working time was L1. Our initial budget time was BC. So U3 was the maximum indifference curve we could, the highest represents the highest utility level we could get. When our income increases by BE amount, let's assume we are still working by L1. In that case, we will go vertically up in the graph, and our new budget time will be EF. So we will hit this point. So going vertically up means, well, we will have more income, but we will have the same leisure hours. So indifference curve that passes through this point, I mean this point that is right above D, and from the budget line EF. Well, remember, the slope of the indifference curve depends on how much income our worker is willing to give per unit of leisure time. Compared with this point, our worker has more. Our worker has higher income, which means income becomes less valuable. That means per unit of leisure time, our worker is willing to give more income, because income becomes more valuable, less valuable for him. He has more income if he works or she works at the same number of hours. So, but the wage is the same. The only thing that changed was the increase in the non-labor market income, which means our budget line has the same slope, but basically the slope of the indifference curve passing from the point that's right above the D has increased. Here is the mathematical fact, and I will also explain what it does mean economically. At the point where the budget line, this curve, is tangent to the indifference curve U3, the slope of this curve and U3 is the same. That means at the tangent point, the amount of income our individual is willing to give up to get an additional labor time is exactly the same as the amount of wage our individual will get by working an additional labor time. So they ask me how much money you would like to give up if you work for one more hour. I say $10. And $10 is exactly the amount of wage if I work one more hour. But that's at that point. So at that point, I'm just indifference between working or not working. I mean, that's my reservation rate, just the amount I will start to work. And that's why that's my optimum point. If the amount of wage I will get will be higher than the amount I will prefer, in that case, this will be steeper. This would be steeper. The budget time will be steeper. In that case, I will certainly work more. So I will increase my working time, basically, because the amount of wage I get is more than the amount I will prefer. If, on the other hand, the amount of wage I got is less than the minimum amount I will prefer to work one more hour, in that case, the utility curve is steeper. In that case, I will decrease my labor time because, I mean, basically, in that case, I mean, that would mean, since I'm at the exact point, that would mean if I reduce my labor time by one more unit, the amount of money I lose is less than the amount I think worth for giving up for one unit of labor time. So if the utility curve is more steep, I will work less because the amount of money I gain is worth for me is not worth to get one leisure time. If my budget line is more steep, then I will work more. You can also do it another way. I mean, if the utility curve is less steep, in that case, you will work more flat than the budget line. Then you will work more. If the budget line is more flat, then you will work less. So in this case, the indifference curve will be flat, more steep. That means you will work less, basically. I hope this part is clear, basically. But just as a rule of thumb, you can also say that increasing the non-labor market income will always decrease the optimum labor time. What will happen if the wage increases? That's more critical. Wage increases will create two different effects, basically. One effect is created because when you increase the wage of an individual, in that case, that individual will have more income, and as I earn more, I might afford to, as I earn more hourly, I can earn the same income at a smaller time frame, and I can have more leisure. So since I'm able to earn more per hour, now I might afford to work less to get same income, and I might have more leisure time to spend for my for what I like with my family maybe. But also, since I'm able to work more hourly, I might decide, okay, I'm getting more my 1 hour of work worth more. I can, by giving up 1 hour of leisure, now I am able to work. I am able to get even more consumption. So since by giving up leisure time, giving up leisure time, I'm able to get more income. Or in other words, we can also say my leisure time has become, the price of leisure time becomes higher because leisure time costs me more. Because if I don't have leisure time but working time, I can have more income. I might substitute leisure time for consumption, basically, because the money I need to, because I can buy more consumption goods by giving up one leisure time. So we have an effect that is called substitution effect, created by the fact that now by working I can get more income, which might stimulate me to work more. But we have another effect that's called income effect, basically. We will talk more on this in the next part. See you in the next part.